You are special. You can see. You will see. Someone very special. Someone very special because it's you. Because it's you.
The Sustainable Development Goal 17 calls for the need for partnership and collaboration between organizations. The IREDE Foundation, in coalition with Festus Fajemilo Foundation and the Human Development Initiative Organization, came together to deliver the United for Inclusive Education project. Now, the objective and purpose for this is to ensure that we promote quality education for children living with disability in Lagos State. The United for Inclusive Education, fondly called UIE, is proudly sponsored by the Disability Rights Fund. The synergy between the three organizations is ensuring that we deliver an inclusive state for children living with disability within Lagos State. Now, the goal for this is to ensure that we promote quality education by facilitating strategic and collaborative partnership between organizations of persons with disabilities, the state ministries, departments and agencies, as well as what is the media also saying, how can we synergize them in ensuring that inclusive education is effective and is practicable in Lagos State.
I always tell people that get to know that we are in a dynamic society and there is no separate society for children or persons with special needs, persons with disabilities. And so if they are going to survive in this environment, if they are going to survive in the society, they have to be included in everything. When I say everything, not only in the aspect of education, we are talking about employment. And that's why you see in Lagos suburb now, if you go to our schools, at least 40% of our teachers have disabilities and they're doing well in the classroom. They are teachers, bona fide teachers employed by the Lagos State government, and they're doing well. So when we're talking inclusive for me is the in thing. I see that a time is coming in this country, not only in Lagos State, whereby every school, both private and public, will be inclusive. That no child will be rejected. Stigmatization will be out of the way. Discrimination will be out of the way. Not only will the school, well, only will they go to school, have access to school, but they will have access to quality education, where equity is the order of the day, not sympathy.
One of the activities was that we did a DEX research to understand what the budget trend is for inclusive education in Lagos State. We had two questions. One, are organizations of persons with disabilities and persons with disabilities involved in the budget conversations? Two, the budget line that calls out inclusive education, is it specifically called out, and how much funds is actually available for inclusive education in Lagos State? Now, this research enabled us to deliver a report on disability inclusion in the budget process for Lagos State. And one of the key findings we figured is that persons with disabilities were really not included in this. What did we do after that? We did a training to ensure that we call out the roles of OPDs in ensuring that they are active participants during consultative forum. Now, the OPDs were active participants now in the 2020 Lagos State Budget Consultative Forum, where they gave their input to say, we want this, ensuring that inclusive education was specifically called out in the 2022 Lagos State budget.
There are some challenges that has to do with budgeting for children with special needs. It has opened our eyes to see some of these challenges and to be able to plan ahead. Then from the project, we were able to discover that planning is key, budget is key. And when we are talking about budgeting, it has to do with financial planning for any program. And so for inclusive education, if you don't plan, then you won't get the best for them. For us to have a functional, effective inclusive education in Lagos State, it has to be planned for, it has to be budgeted for. Budget has to be a conscious effort, whereby all the programs have to be put in place. You have a budget for the short term, a budget for the long term. And so with the United for Inclusive Education coming on board, also, it has been able to impact the effort of SUBE in the aspect that bringing in the community, that community also have a role to play in budgeting for inclusive education. Not only the community, but the line ministries, also the CSOs, the NGOs. It's a collaborative effort that when all come on board, then we get a better inclusive education for Lagos State and Nigeria as a whole.
From reports, observation, you find out that to so many people, when you mention inclusion is like, what are you talking about? So the coming of this project to us has really created awareness, especially through the SBMC members, that they were able to step it down to people in the community. they were able to partner with this JONAPID on the project to make sure they inject what inclusion is into education system and also to practice it in schools. And HDI, through this project, will be able to, these SBMC members, they were trained, their capacity was built, like 23 of them in 15 selected schools, 2 journalists and the media. So they carried this to the community. Now they are even able to do this social auditing in schools and also to learn their rights. Before they don't know their rights, now let's go to duty bearers, to the government, to say, okay, some policies are there. We need it to be implemented. What can you do? We need more sensitization and awareness. So they are now emboldened to do this.
Everybody, boys and girls, everybody, roll 2. We were trained in November last year. Also, we were called sometimes in May for training again. So that has boosted our capacity. That has given us the lead way. That has shown us how to do things. And we have to tap into that. The one we did in November, we from Koshofe LGA, only 10 of us attend that program. And Koshofe LGA has 40 public primary schools. Out of that 40, we have two representatives that we invited. With those 10, all of us complete 80. We sat down in this hall that we have today to conduct sensitization program on the area of stepping it down for other members. And after that meeting that day, which HDI have their representative, inclusive units, Maryland, send in their representative. They also give their additions. It broadened the scope of everybody in that room that day, whereby we now call for volunteers. Those volunteers are, some are 7, some are 5, to visit that school. And immediately they are going on vacation in April. We visited. When we visit them, for us to know what they have on ground before they went back on holiday. And as soon as we resume, we also visit them again. 1 week after we resume, we got a chart from IREDE Foundation. So that is what we use as a template that back us up whenever we are apportioning our question. So our experience in the field have been so much cordial. Let me use that language. They have been cordial within us and the school in a good relationship. Also, in addition, around the state, myself as a person, I've been supporting the JONAPID. JONAPID was part of, I've been supporting them to move around the states. At least for now, we have covered almost 12 states, 12 local governments in the state out of 20, trying to go around to see what those schools need in all the IGA. Some LGEA, Local Government Education Authority, has 2, some has 1. So, and we have been visiting them, getting all we need, so that JONAPID, as an association, can flag it off through IREDE Foundation or HDI or Festus Fajemilo Foundation.
All the people that contributed to the United Inclusive Education has actually contributed greatly, to what LASODA, Lagos State Office for Disability Affairs, has been doing, and we have had courses of referring cases to them and taking it up, and also we have had opportunities of being trained by them, and also we come back to the agency and do a step down to the staff.
Festus Fajemilo Foundation has been involved in the coalition since 2020, and we have some key components of the project that we are implementing. One of such is training of teachers from public primary and secondary inclusive schools in Lagos State on how to use inclusive learning and teaching tools to improve learning outcomes among children with disabilities across the schools. We're also engaging with organizations of persons with disabilities, strengthening their capacity in advocacy strategies, inclusive school monitoring, so which they are doing inclusive school monitoring at the moment, and that this is in accordance with what is enshrined in the United Nations Convention of Persons with Disabilities, Right of Persons with Disabilities, which stipulates active participation of persons with disabilities, in critical, sectors of the society, including, education, health, social, and other things. And as a result of the activity and engagement, we've seen from September last year, the number of inclusive primary schools in Lagos State increased from 31 to 34.
The one-day workshop for OPDs on inclusive schools monitoring built my capacity and increased my understanding of the concept of inclusive education in Lagos State. With the use of inclusive education monitoring templates provided by IREDE Foundation, FFF, the OPD Education Committee under the Joint Association of Persons with Disability, Lagos State Chapter, now has the capacity to monitor the implementation of inclusive education in Lagos State.
Also in contribution to this was the work we did with LASUBEB in ensuring that we increase the number of inclusive schools in Ikorodu. Ikorodu before now used to have just one inclusive school, meaning that that's what catered for all the children with disability in Ikorodu. But what it is now is that they've increased the number from 1 to 4. Now this is because engagement happened. Feedback was also taken from SUBEB and also from the IREDE Foundation and the other coalition members to see how can we work together to make this happen.
I think one unique thing that gladdens my heart during the session was that we are able to appraise the attitude of regular and special education teachers, because before now they don't want to work together. But because of our advocacy towards this, I think the government has now woken up from the idea of the schools are there, the teachers are there, but they don't know whether they are working together or not.
Clap for Vector. Clap, 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 clap.
The cooperative teaching and learning was very impactful in the sense that it added to my knowledge in the area of teaching strategies, and also it fostered how we can cope with the children, especially in the inclusive unit. The experience was wonderful because when we came back to the school, we introduced this cooperative teaching by stepping it down to others. They were not in the training. And after introducing it to them, their attitude changed and they began to work with these children, especially in the area of kinesthetic and practicals. We have general education teachers now that are working with the children in terms of physical exercise on the field. They do all these things with them. In terms of computer, especially in the area of vocational training also. Those ones handling them now are not special education teachers. And we all got this from the knowledge we got from the training of cooperative teaching.
And lastly was public awareness. We didn't just stop with our direct conversation with the stakeholders. We still put it all out there using social media, using IEC materials, using radio, using TV to talk about inclusive education by ensuring that inclusive education does not just stop in Lagos State, but expands beyond.
On behalf of the coalition members, I want to say a big thank you to all the partners and everyone that made this project a success. The Organization of Persons with Disabilities, the Lagos State Office of Disability Affairs, the Lagos State Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, the Ministry of Education, Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB, School-Based Management Committee, and the parents of children with disabilities. We say a big thank you to you guys. And of course, even though we have all of these people, we still have our implementing partner, Disability Right Funds, that made the support of funds available, technical support, and different resources to ensure that this project is a success. We say a big thank you to you guys. And of course, the partners in this project, you guys were the bomb jiggy. You guys made it happen with all the resources and all the inputs that you brought in. Festus Fajamila Foundation, the IREDE Foundation, and Human Development Initiative. Thank you so much. This project has not come to an end yet, even though it has technically ended. For us as the IREDE Foundation, it sets as a blueprint because now we have learned so much. We know what the gaps are, and we see also the opportunities of the things that we can do with inclusive education, not just in Lagos State, but across Nigeria. We will continue to engage the stakeholders. We will continue to make sure that we engage with government and ensure that we bring inclusive education, something that is what we will have in the country as a whole. And I know that for you to learn as a child and continue to learn, you need to come together as a diverse set of people. And that's why we are advocating for inclusive education, not just in Nigeria, but globally, because we know that our children can learn and we'll be the better for it.
Now, I'll end with this. Inclusive education does not end here. The United for Inclusive Education project does not end here. We all have a role to play in ensuring that children living with disability are not left behind.
No child behind.